Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be doing a guide for Austria for EU4 1.34 Lions of the North. So Austria is a nation that starts off in the HRE as the HRE elector, and it is, in my opinion, the most powerful nation in EU4, along with it being my personal favorite nation. We start off with a unique government form here, the Austrian Archduchy, which we can actually change into an even better one later, and right now it gives us minus 33% liberty desire from subjects development, along with plus 5 nobility influence. The Austrian ideas are amazing, focusing on diplomatic and HRE gameplay, starting off with plus 10% morale of armies and plus 30% improved relations. Then we got a chance of a new era as a finisher, imperial authority and diplo annex discounts, fort maintenance discount and garrison growth, 2 double ideas, another double idea right here, inflation reduction and interest per annum, diplo rep plus 2, missionary strength plus 2, diplo relations, and another double idea with plus 5% discipline and 30% reinforced speed. Makes this one of the best national idea sets in the game, paired with the amazing mission tree that Austria has, which has been added since Emperor, makes this the best country in the game. As Austria, you will be PUing various nations around Europe like Bohemia, Hungary, Poland, Lithuania, maybe even Castile, Aragon, Naples, Spain, getting the Burgundian inheritance, passing imperial reforms, making all of these guys your vassals, conquering the entire world, and even converting it all to one faith. And before we begin, if you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to leave a like, it really helps out a lot. And if you like the content and want to see more videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of it. Let's take a look at what we need to do as Austria. So the first thing you're going to want to do as Austria is check and see if Burgundy is friendly towards you, so you can ally them and royal marry them right off the bat. There we go, that is the situation in my case right here. If Burgundy doesn't like you, make sure to restart. You won't have to do it too many times. I got this first try, I didn't have to restart at all. But if Burgundy is friendly with you, we can go ahead and move on with our gameplay. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go into your states and summon the Diet. You can pick whichever agenda is best for you. Then we're going to give the clergy religious state and clerical advisory council, along with religious diplomats. We're going to give the nobility primacy of the nobility, increased levies, and aristocratic councilors. And we're going to give the burghers land of commerce, patronage of the arts, commercial advisory board, and indebted to the burghers. Then we're going to seize land. Now it's time to hire some advisors. Get whichever level 1 admin advisor you have. I have this yearly inflation reduction guy. He may be scripted, so if you have him, get him. Get this half-cost level 2 improve relations dip advisor. He is always available. And get a morale, discipline, or manpower level 1 mill advisor. I don't have any of those, so I'm just gonna get this fort defense guy. That's our advisors sorted. Now it's time to set some rivals. You should rival the Ottomans, France, and Bohemia right at the start. Next, we're gonna take this army in Vienna and delete 1 cavalry regiment from it, just like that. And you're gonna take the smaller stack and send it over to Vienna, and then we're gonna build 3 more infantry regiments, just like this. Additionally, we are gonna hire some mercenary companies, like the Free Company and the Grand Company right here. We will need these to beat up Bohemia, which is gonna be our first war. Speaking of first wars, we do need to kickstart our mission tree with this mission right here. Secure electors. We need to have 5 electors voting for us while they also have 100 opinion of us. Now, everyone is already voting for us, but they don't have 100 opinion. So we do need to ally some of these guys right here. So first, we are going to send a royal marriage offer to Burgundy, just like that, and then we're going to ally Brandenburg. Once you can send other alliance offers, I recommend allying 3 more electors, most importantly the Palatinate, and then 2 other guys that you want. So you should be allied to Brandenburg, the Palatinate, and 2 other electors, whoever you want, and then you can also ally the Pope, and maybe even Castile if they're friendly with you. We are going to be going over relations limit for the entirety of the campaign, so that's why you should start focusing on dip immediately. Now it's time to get these alliances in order, get the armies built up, and ally everyone so we can take this mission right here. It shouldn't take more than a few months. You should be done in January or February with all of this. And there we go, a few months have passed. It's March right now, and this is everyone that I've allied. So this is who you want to have as well. I've allied and royal married Burgundy, the Pope, and Castile, and then I have 5 electors just so I can take this mission right here. But you don't need 5 electors anymore. You can just break your alliance with 2 of them, so you will want to keep 3. And there we go, now we can take the mission. Just like that, we have a restoration of Union CB on Bohemia and some diplo rep and yearly legitimacy. Now I'm gonna break my alliance with Saxony because I don't want Brandenburg to dislike me, and I'm also gonna break my alliance with Mainz. So being allied to 3 electors is good enough. Brandenburg, Cologne, and the Palatinate. Those are pretty good ones, because they'll still vote for us, and once we PU Bohemia, they'll vote for us as well, or we can just take the electorship from them thanks to some new decisions that have been introduced in Lions of the North. Once your armies are at Bohemia's borders, it's time to recruit a general just like that to at least one army. Hopefully yours will be better than mine because this guy sucks. And it's time to go ahead and declare our first war, which is going to be a restoration of Union war on Bohemia. At this point, they shouldn't have any strong allies. They don't have a tendency to ally big guys. In my case, it's only Anhalt. So that's your first war, a restoration of Union on Bohemia. You will be able to defeat them by yourself just with your main army and a few mercenary stacks. And if you feel like you need to, you can definitely recruit the independent army or another one of these smaller stacks right here. Don't worry about money or anything like that at this point. Once you've started your war with Bohemia, with one diplomat you can improve relations with Hungary, and with the remaining 2 diplomats you can improve with allies. During this war, you will probably be able to call in some of your elector allies. You can do that if you want to, if you think there's a need. Of course, when you get the event East Frisia offers to join the Empire, you should welcome them to the Empire. And once you get to around 60% war score with Bohemia, you are good to peace them out. So you're simply going to go into the peace deal right here and enforce your union with Bohemia. It will be around 50 aggressive expansion. It isn't too bad. Of course, you could take these provinces right here or just Cheb, another gold mine. We also start off with Intol right here, an initial gold mine, but I don't think there's a need for this. You can do this if you want to. So PU them, take Cheb if you want to, and then take as much money as you can. And boom, just like that, that's your first war done, and Bohemia is your junior partner. After you PU Bohemia, you will be able to take a couple of missions. The mission Control Bohemia, which gives us yearly legitimacy and imperial authority growth, along with the permaclaim on Silesia. You should take it, and then you can also take the mission Imperial Ascendancy. You will also be able to take the mission Decline of Hungary, which gives you a restoration of Union CB on Hungary, but don't do this. And this is the reason. As we all know, Hungary starts off without a ruler and heir, but they do get Ladislas Posthumous here as an heir, a guy that's also our heir as well. So we might get a scripted PU over them depending on what they choose. So as soon as this guy comes of age, which is going to be in about 8 years time over here in my case, Hungary will choose whether to remain independent or become our junior partner. And if they become our junior partner, that's great. We get them for free and basically no aggressive expansion. However, if they reject that, we'll want to take this mission to gain a restoration of Union CB on them and not waste it, and then we can PU them through war as well. So don't take this mission until Hungary chooses whether to have Ladislas on their throne or not. But now that our first war is done, we can start improving relations with Bohemia, and you can get rid of these mercenary companies, and you should also start spying on Venice. We are gonna chill until we see what happens with Hungary. Sure, you could fight some other wars in the meantime, but the aggressive expansion is not worth it because we might have to get them through war. So it's time to chill until this guy is 15. Once Bohemia is no longer your rival, you should rival Venice. Once you take Diplotech 4, you can activate the Encourage Development State Edict in the state of Tyrol right here, just like that, and you can dev the province of Intol up to 10 production, so we make some nice income from gold. If you took Cheb, you'll be doing that to this province as well. And later, if you take Hant from Hungary, you'll be doing that to that province as well. I don't think there's a need for any of this, but you can do it if you want to make a little bit more money. Of course, just be careful with the aggressive expansion. At this point, my diplomats are improving relations with Bohemia, spying on Venice, and improving with outraged countries. Once I get at least one claim on Venice, like this province right here, I'll tell this guy that's spying on Venice to improve with allies. Once you're done with the war with Bohemia, you can also build a proper stack right here, which needs to have 20 infantry and 4 cavalry. When you get this pop-up right here for unlawful territory, make sure to demand that these nations return unlawful territory. Basically, just some general tips right here. You will want to have as many nations in the HRE as possible to gain as much imperial authority as possible. So there we go. I'm just going to ask Lübeck to release Lauenburg, and boom, just like that, another nation's popped up, Saxe Lauenburg. At the start of the game, you might also get the Imperial Incident, the whatever Meister of the Teutonic Order wishes to join the Holy Roman Empire. And at this point, you have a couple of options. Basically, we can let the Teutons join the Empire, but we will lose Imperial authority and all of their neighbors will dislike us slightly. And in that case, in my game, it's Wolgast, Stettin, and Brandenburg. Now, we don't care about these guys, but we do want Brandenburg to like us. The second option is let them join, but forbid them from declaring any wars until they become the Duchy of Prussia, basically until they're no longer a bishopric. This is good. Most electors will support this, and we will gain imperial authority if we choose this option. And then the third option is to simply reject them, where we once again lose imperial authority. And just like you're probably thinking, the best option is this one in the middle right here, where we actually gain imperial authority. So make sure to choose option 2, let the Teutons join, but prevent them from declaring wars. Once you gain 1 stability through an event or stab up manually, you will be able to take the decision usurp the electorate, where basically Bohemia's electorship gets transferred over to us. Now this is both good and bad. It's good because it removes the modifier controlling other electors, which slightly decreases the chance of other electors voting for us. However, it is bad because we will lose imperial authority and Bohemia will dislike us by 100 opinion. Now, make sure to not take this at a point where your ruler might die, because if Bohemia dislikes you and your ruler dies, well, they automatically break free. In my case, they hate me quite a bit right here. So once I get my opinion with Bohemia above a positive 100, basically where I can take this decision and they won't hate me, that's when I'll do it. So improve to around 110 and then you can take this decision. At this point, Croatia's taken silly. I am gonna demand for them to return it. And there we go, the imperial incident has ended and the Teutonic Order has joined the HRE. They've agreed to our conditions. After this event happens, you will probably be able to pass your first reform, call for Reichsreform, where every imperial province gets minus 5% construction and dev cost. You should take it. After a little bit of time has passed, you may get this strange situation right here where basically the Teutonic Order no CBs you. A pretty interesting scenario that does happen when they join the HRE or something like that, but with that, they get actually kicked out of the HRE. Now this doesn't matter to us too much because we've already gotten the Imperial Authority and we've passed our first reform. So you don't even have to do anything in this war, all your allies will go and beat them up. It'll be just them versus you and all of your allies. When you get the event Gotland requests our support, choose this first option, and they will either accept or reject. In my case, they've rejected. As you can see, there's lots of things to do while we're waiting around for Hungary to choose whether to get Ladislaus on their throne. We're not just sitting around doing nothing. If this war even happens for you, the no CB Teutonic War, you don't have to do anything to them, just take war reps and some money, and that war is pretty much done. Remember to keep seizing land if every estate has over 50 loyalty. After you pass your first reform and are up to 5 imperial authority again, and after Bohemia has over 100 opinion of you, you can totally go ahead and usurp the electorate. And boom, just like that, we lose 5 imperial authority. Bohemia dislikes us a bit, but it's not below 0, and we have become an elector ourselves. And of course, you should vote for yourself, just like that. With this, we basically control 4 electors once again. We are 1 and we're allied to 3 more, and these guys don't dislike us because we control an elector. At this point, I've devved Intel up to 10 production, and when you do that, you can turn off that state edict right there and activate it in Austria proper and dev Vienna up to 30 to take off the age objective and to help speed up the spawning of the Renaissance slightly. But only if you have Tech 4 in every category. I do, so there we go, I'm gonna bump it up a couple of times to get it up to 10 in each category. And once March 1455 comes around, basically when Ladislaus turns 15, Hungary will either accept to be a junior partner under you or they won't. And in my case, there we go, they have accepted. If they don't, honestly, you could just Alt F4 and roll it back to January, or you could just take that mission that we had from earlier and PU them through war. Of course, it is a lot easier if you get them because they chose to, just like in my case right here. So at this point, you either have Hungary as your second junior partner and you're gonna go fight Venice, or Hungary didn't choose you and you're gonna go fight Hungary to PU them. It is different for anyone, but either way, that's what we need to do. If you've gotten Hungary as a junior partner, you're then gonna take this mission where we gain some permaclaims on some stuff that they own. And after that, once you PU them, or if they're already your junior partner, you will be able to take this mission as well, which gives us further permaclaims on these areas right here. Most notably, stuff that Venice should own too. After you become a great power and a rival or ally is a great power as well, you will be able to take the mission Balance of Power for improved relations and +1 Diplo relations. You should do that. And after you've gotten a Hungary as a junior partner either through the event or through a war, it is time to move on with your wars where you'll be doing your second or third war, and that's gonna be versus Venice. Venice probably won't have any strong allies. The strongest nations they can ally are Genoa and very rarely France. In my case, it's just the Knights and their usual trade league partners right here. So it's time to go ahead and declare on Venice, where in this first war, our focus will be to take some of these provinces in the Balkans right here, before we completely dismantle them in our second war against them. So go ahead and declare on Venice, not with the Imperial Band CB, but with a conquest for one of these provinces down here, like Zara for example. You can go ahead and call in whoever you want, depending on the number of allies they have. Now, once you get 4 nations with your dynasty, you will be able to take the mission Spread the von Habsburgs for Diplo Rep and Diplo Annex cost, In my case, actually randomly, Cologne has gotten a ruler called von Habsburg. I don't think this guy is related to our von Habsburgs at all, but there we go. I can take the mission. You will probably be able to take this mission yourself after you PU Burgundy, but you can save it for later when you annex someone, or you can take it right away if you want to. I'm gonna take it right away for the purposes of this guide, although it is slightly better, of course, to save it for when you annex someone. For your tier 2 government reform, of course, there is no need to take strength and noble privileges. We are already the emperor, we're already Austria, we don't need any more manpower. And of course, the nobles will be a little bit more influential from our tier 1 government reform as well. In my case, they're at 74 right now, which isn't too bad. So for your tier 2 government reform, either take Noble Officer Corps for army tradition and professionalism, that does give plus 5% nobility influence, or you could compromise with the nobility, or you could even curtail noble privileges for a little less nobles influence. It's totally up to you which of these 3 you take. Personally, I'm gonna go with Noble Officer Corps. And once you get around 50 to 60% war score with Venice, it is totally cool to peace out. And in this first war, here's what you're gonna wanna take. You're gonna wanna take these 3 provinces over here, so you can border some of the Balkan nations if they still exist, of course. And then you can make them pop out 1 or 2 more nations. I am gonna make them release Aquileia right here, along with Dalmatia in this one province, and I'm gonna make them return Ravenna to the Pope. So we're sort of half taking stuff from them, half dismantling them, and then in the second war, we're gonna make them give these provinces back to Milan, if Milan haven't taken them already, and we're gonna make them release some other nations over in Italy. There's no need to take money or war reps or anything like that. So these provinces right here, primary goal, secondary goal, make them pop out some nations and return some cores, if you can. And that's our first war with Venice. Done. After this war, you should be able to take the mission Secure Croatia, which gives us permaclaims on these areas right here. And of course, if you've PU'd Hungary, which you should have, you will be able to take the mission Conquer Transylvania for claims on these areas right here. Once you wrap up your wars with Hungary and Venice, it's time to chill a little bit and wait for the HRE Imperial incident where the Italian guys attempt to leave the Holy Roman Empire. So it's time for us to deal with them. By releasing these nations around us, if they like us enough, they'll join the HRE by themselves, and if they don't, well, later, we're simply gonna force them into the HRE. Remember, we wanna have as many nations in the HRE as possible. As soon as you can, make sure to abdicate with Frederick right here, and you are gonna keep abdicating with every ruler you get. Even if you get a 666, a 555, a 655, you should abdicate because you will be getting imperial authority from that. So, the first thing you want to check before you abdicate, do your junior partners have a positive opinion of you? Both Hungary and Bohemia do, so there we go. I'm simply gonna abdicate just like that, and Ladislas Posthumus is on the throne, and we gain some imperial authority. Once we get a new ruler, and once we can, we're gonna abdicate with this guy too, and we're gonna keep doing it and keep doing it until the end of the game. Or not until the end of the game, but until we pass all reforms. And another very important tip, when you do that, Burgundy will of course send a royal marriage offer to you. Don't accept this, because when Charles here dies, the royal marriage gets broken, and we're not eligible for the Burgundian succession. So you should always send royal marriage offers to them, and never accept theirs. So there we go, I'm just gonna right click this, and send my own, so we're eligible. As soon as Charles right here dies, the Burgundian succession will happen. And in 1460, the Shadow Kingdom event will fire and the Imperial Incident will be active. And this is it. Basically, we can choose to abandon Italy, we lose prestige and imperial authority, and all of the guys that are in Italy in the HRE will leave. So that includes like these guys down here, and even Savoy, which their capital isn't in Italy, but they are an Italian nation. Of course, we're not gonna choose to do that. We are gonna rein in the Italians, and we will have until 1490 to take that decision. Of course, we will be doing it instantly. So after we take this decision, we need to wait for a year, so we'll be able to do this right here. Of course, make sure to remove your guarantee over any nations that you might have released from Venice or from any other nation that you're gonna do that to. We don't need this to take up a diplomatic slot. During this point, we're not just conquering land and PUing guys, we're also building up our nation. So whenever you can take some new burger loans, I just did. I've already built a marketplace over here in Vienna, so now I'm gonna build some churches, maybe some workshops too. And there we go, the decision to rein in the Italians has begun, and that imperial incident is over, and now we can start doing this right here. So basically, when you hover over the reign in Italy decision, it tells you which nations you need to get to like you so they don't leave the HRE. In my case, some nations already won't leave, like Lucca, because I've granted them a free city status when another nation lost it. So it's time to ally and royal marry all of these guys, Ferrara, Genoa, Mantua, Milan, Savoy, Florence, Saluzzo, and then take the decision, and then you can break your royal marriages and alliances. Now, even though these guys will be rival to each other, there is always a way, and there's always a sequence in which you can ally them and stuff like that in order to be able to ally all of them. So right now, Milan is rival to Genoa, Florence, and Savoy, so we might not be able to ally them if we ally the other guys, but there's always a workaround. First you're gonna ally that guy, then this guy, then break your alliance with that guy, ally a different guy. Basically, there's always a way to do it. It is pretty complicated and it does get pretty convoluted, but it can always be done, trust me. So just recall all of your diplomats and start looking for the alliance sequence and for the ability to take this decision right here. And there we go. As we can see, I've allied every Italian nation and now I only need to do Milan. But I can't ally them immediately, right? There are some negative modifiers right here because I'm allied to some of their rivals, and each of those is 50. So what I'm gonna do right here is try this. Break my alliance with Genoa and ally Milan, and then try to re-ally Genoa because that negative modifier right here is smaller. I can just send them a gift or something like that, and like I said, there's always a sequence. And there we go. After various gymnastics that I pulled here by sending gifts to various nations, scornfully insulting some of their rivals, even royal marrying some of them like Milan, I finally found the sequence, and now I can finally ally the final nation before Genoa and Savoy break their alliance with me, and just like that, I've re-allied Florence, and I did have to break a bunch of alliances, get them back again, send gifts, everything necessary to get these guys to like me, but I finally found the sequence, and now I've allied every needed nation, and now, just like that, after only about a year after the incident, I can reign in Italy, and there we gain 25 imperial authority, and these nations will never leave the HRE. Now, you can go ahead and break your alliance with all of them except for the Pope once again, and if you royal married some of them, well, that's just a cost we'll have to pay, and that royal marriage will break when a ruler dies. But after reigning the Italians, you should be able to take the second imperial reform, institute Reichsregiment, where we gain a diplomat, diplorep, and empire provinces get -2 local unrest. And just like that, we've passed our second reform. And there we go, I've broken my alliance with every Italian nation that I don't need. I did have to royal marry Savoy and Milan to get that decision through, but it's no big deal. By around the point you do the reign in Italy thing, Bohemia should annex their second subject, and after they do that, and after they own all of Silesia, you should be able to take the mission Recover Silesia, which gives us permaclaims in some areas in Poland, which are these areas right here. After this, we're ready to move on with our wars, where we're actually gonna fight Poland. As we can see right here, we need to conquer Galicia, which is basically these couple of states right here. And after we do that, we will be able to take this mission right here, Conquer Galicia, which gives us a restoration of Union CB on Poland. If you're lucky, you're also going to get Moldavia and Danzig and Lithuania. If not, it's just going to be Poland. And let's see in my case right here, they do have Lithuania, so that's pretty nice. Of course, as you know, Poland shouldn't have any strong allies, but they might be pretty strong themselves. But don't worry, by this point, you may have even gotten the Burgundian succession, and you have Bohemia and Hungary and all your allies on your side, so it won't be a problem at all to defeat Poland. Once you take that mission, get ready for a war with Poland. Because my junior partners don't seem to be that strong, I am going to build up my army a little bit before this war, so I'm just going to build another stack similar to this one. I am going to take out a few loans for that. It's not going to be a problem. Once you reach Admin Tech 5 for your first idea group as Austria, you should of course take diplomatic ideas. This is a no-brainer. We need the diplomats to improve relations with outraged countries and with our own subjects. The diplorep is going to help us get junior partners and annex our junior partners faster. The province war score cost will enable us to take more provinces, and the lowered impact on stability from diplomatic actions will enable us to royal marry various nations that don't have heirs, such as these nations on this list, and then break that royal marriage if we don't get our dynasty on their throne. So diplomatic ideas for your first idea group. You should already be focusing on dip. About a year or two after you reign in the Italians, the imperial incident, the Pope and the Emperor will happen, where we can choose to let the Emperor in the HRE. Of course, you should pick the first option. The Pope will join the Empire. We will want to do that. And there we go. Now that I've built up my second army, I am gonna go ahead and declare on Poland for the conquest of some of these provinces right here that we have claims on. We're gonna take about half now, about half later, and then we're gonna PU them. So I'm gonna declare for Przemysl for now, and take these lesser valued provinces now, and the more valuable ones later. And I'm gonna call in everyone that will come in. And that's your first war with Poland started. And there we go. While I'm in this war, the imperial incident, the Pope and the Emperor, has ended, and the Papal State has joined the HRE. Very nice. And while I'm in this war, the Burgundian succession has happened, and if everything goes according to plan, and honestly it should in your game as well, Burgundy will choose you, And just like that, Burgundy inherit their junior partners, Holland, Brabant, and Flanders, Nevers gets transferred over to France, and the imperial incident, the Burgundian inheritance, starts. And there are three options to keep your union with Burgundy, which may lead to a war with France. Give every province in the France region owned by Burgundy over to France, which is quite a lot, we don't want to do that, and then make every province in the HRE owned by Burgundy get released by Burgundy, which in this case is these provinces up here in the lowlands. These provinces will get released too, and in my case, probably some of these over here. Now, of course, we could do this to get more nations over in the HRE, but the best option is, of course, keep our union with Burgundy, where hopefully you'll inherit these provinces through the horse event, or if not, you'll just integrate Burgundy manually. But choose this first option, keep our union with Burgundy. If you want to spice it up a bit, choose this third option, integrate Burgundy into the empire. After you get Burgundy as a junior partner, you will be able to take the mission Austria-Netherlands. This isn't too relevant for our gameplay. For your first stage ability, you should of course take Justified Wars. Once you get around 50 to 60% war score versus Poland, you should go ahead and peace out immediately, because we want to keep these wars as fast as possible and the truces as short as possible. And in your first war versus Poland, you're going to take the entire state of Galicia right here, along with the province of Krakow. That's it. No money, no war reps, nothing else. We're going to take the rest of these provinces that we need in our second war. This is our first war done. Now it's time to go back and chill for about a year before we move on to the Balkans. After we fought our war with Poland, it's time to move on with the Balkans and fight some of these nations that may still be alive at this point, such as Wallachia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Serbia, Ragusa, Albania, whichever nation you can. And basically our goal in these wars versus these small guys is to somehow completely surround them and turn them Catholic. So in my game right here, I'm gonna declare on Bosnia. They're allied to Serbia, right? So I'm gonna take this province, and this province along with this one, and I'm gonna leave Serbia alive as a one province minor right here, and Bosnia as a one province minor right here, and I'm also gonna force them to become Catholic. With that, later, when our truce with them is up, we can simply force them into the HRE and have more Catholic princes in there. So I'm just gonna declare on Bosnia. For one of Hungary's claims, they should have claims on these provinces, and I'm gonna do what I just said. You're gonna do something similar. They're not gonna look like this in your case, most likely, but like I said, try to somehow surround them, leave them as a one province minor, and make them Catholic. And there we go. And now that this war is done, I am gonna peace out Serbia here, take these provinces right here, and force them to be Catholic. And just like that, we have a Catholic OPM that we can later force into the empire. And I'm gonna do the same thing with Bosnia over here, except it seems that I can't force them to be Catholic, but no big deal, we'll sort that out later. I forgot that they're actually already Catholic, my bad. With my next war, I'm gonna do the same thing, but this time with Ragusa. But since, as you all know, Ragusa is guaranteed by the Ottomans, I'll simply work around this by declaring on Ferrara, and I'm not gonna take anything from Ferrara. I'm simply gonna white peace them, and then I'm gonna take these two provinces from Ragusa and leave them alive as a one province minor. I am gonna call in some allies here, because they are allied to Genoa and Venice. This is pretty much what we're doing while waiting for our truce with Poland to expire so we can take more provinces from them. Leaving some small nations as OPMs and fighting other bigger nations to pop out small nations from them, such as Venice. And there we go, I white peaced Venice and Genoa, and I'm simply gonna take these two provinces, and that's it. Peace out. Now I can do the same thing to Ragusa that I'm planning on doing with Bosnia and Serbia, forcing them into the HRE later. For your tier 3 government reform as Austria, I recommend taking representatives of the crown. This gives vassals and marches 25% more national tax, and we gain +1 diplomatic relations and plus 25% vassal force limit contribution. It may not be that relevant right now, but later, when we pass all reforms and when the entire HRE becomes our vassals, this reform is gonna be overpowered. So, for your tier 3 government reform, representatives of the crown. Of course, don't forget to periodically lower autonomy wherever you can. Once you fight Serbia, at this point, you may have 1 to 4 gold mines. You already know the gold mines: Intal, Cheb, Hunt, and Kosovo. Make sure to dev whichever one of them you have up to 10 whenever you can. When you get the Milanese succession event, you will have the option to gain a restoration of Union CB on Milan. This isn't that necessary, they're gonna be our vassal later anyway, since they stayed in the HRE. However, you can PU them if you want to, but like I said, it's totally not necessary, so I'm not gonna take it. Around the 1470s, you should be able to pass your third imperial reform, Absolute Reichsstabilitat, and this is a very important one, because not only does it give us -25% state maintenance in states in the empire, but most importantly, it gives us a CB on nations that border the empire to force them to join the empire, and that's precisely what we've been waiting for. So whenever you can, pass absolute Reichsstabilitat. Once you do pass that reform, you have a couple of options for your next wars. Either you can fight some small nations that surround the HRE to force them to join it, like in my case Bologna, Aquileia, Dalmatia, or some of these three guys that I just fought down here, or you could go ahead and fight your first war versus France. Now, we're not really interested in France's territory. Well, we're interested in some of it. What we're more interested in is popping out all the various nations that can be released over in France to force them to join the HRE as well, such as making France release Nevers and forcing them to join later. We can pop out Champagne out of some of these provinces right here. We got Dauphine in the south, maybe Provence if they don't exist, Toulouse, Gascony, you know the drill. So many nations are located in France, and we're gonna make France release a bunch of them and then force them in the HRE. Of course, you should be allied with Castile, like I said at the start. They will definitely have Aragon, they might have Naples, they might have Portugal, so with their help, and with your subjects' help, it'll be super easy to crush France, even if they have a ton of allies, like they do in my case. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna fight France, make France release a bunch of nations. While I'm waiting for the truce with those nations to expire, I'm gonna force some of these guys to enter the HRE, then I'm gonna force these guys, and then we're gonna move back and forth between French nations and Italian nations until our truce with Poland is up. So I'm simply gonna declare for this province up here, which is a Burgundian claim. And I'm gonna call in everyone to make this easy. At this point, because the Teutonic Order left the HRE earlier, and right now they're located in an HRE province, this is where they ended up, because Danzig and Poland own all of this, I am able to take the same decision again and gain some imperial authority again. Honestly, I'm not sure if this is a bug, and if I just got lucky in my situation right here, but once again, if you do get the event again, choose the second option again. And there we go, the Teutonic Order has once again decided to join the HRE, and I just got some more imperial authority. Once again, apologies if this is a bug, and if it's super rare or something like that. And once you completely obliterate France, here's what you're gonna do. Like I said earlier, we're just gonna make them release as many nations as possible, although make sure that those nations somehow border the HRE. So you can pop out someone up here that borders these provinces that are in the HRE, then someone next to them, then someone down here next to these provinces. Don't pop out like Brittany or something in the first war, where they'll be located right here and they can't actually join or be forced in the HRE. So I'm just gonna make them cancel their overlordship over Nevers, and then I'm gonna make them release Champagne from these provinces over here, Dauphine from these provinces down here. Remember, they border the HRE once again. The nation of Berry, which will border Champagne and Nevers, which they themselves will border the HRE. Not someone like Foix, because we can't, but we can do someone like Bourbon in these provinces over here, and someone like Auvergne in this province right here. And then I'm just gonna take some money. And that's your first war with France done. You should have made them pop out as many nations as possible, and later, one by one, once our truces with these guys is up, we'll force all of them in the HRE. Remember to revoke your guarantee over all of these guys though. We don't want that taking up a diplomatic slot or whatever. And of course, we can't declare on them if we guarantee them. At this point, once again, I can abdicate now with Ladislas Posthumus, our second ruler. And of course, you should be doing the same. First, I'm gonna check if all my subjects like me. They all like me. So now I'm gonna go ahead and abdicate. And that's 10 more imperial authority, just like that. It doesn't matter that this ruler sucks and he's worse than our previous one. We want that imperial authority. Once you're done with your shenanigans over in the French, Italian, and Balkan regions, or at least some of them, your truce with Poland should have expired. And at this point, we are going to declare our second war on Poland, where we're going to take these other provinces that we have claims on, and then finally after that, we'll gain a restoration of Union CB on Poland. So go ahead and declare on Poland once again for the conquest of whatever. I'm going to declare for this province right here. Call in anyone that you do need to call in, and go for it. That's your second war with Poland started. And once you have around 40% war score versus Poland in this war, it is time to peace out and take the rest of the provinces that we have claims on, which are these 5 provinces right here. That's it. Once again, no money, no war reps. Once again, we want a short truce, and then in our third and final war versus Poland, we'll PU them. But this is your second war with Poland done. At this point, you will be able to take the mission Conquer Galicia, which gives you admin points and a restoration of Union CB on Poland, but don't do it. We're only gonna do this once our truce with Poland is up and once we're absolutely ready to declare, because we don't want this CB potentially expiring if something goes wrong. But now that we're done with the war with Poland, it is time to go back and force all of the small nations around us to enter the HRE. That's what we're going to be doing while we're waiting for our second truce with Poland to expire. So every nation over in the Balkans, every nation in France, and every nation that you might have popped out of Venice as well. Once you reach Admin Tech 7, you will be able to take your second idea group, and as Austria, of course, there isn't another option. Just like we had to take Diplo for our first idea group, we have to take Religious for our second one. This is, of course, planning for a one faith later on, so Religious is absolutely necessary, but even if you're not planning on doing a one faith, Religious will help you massively to deal with the Protestant Reformation and conquering all of the Orthodox provinces in the eastern and southern portion of Europe, and maybe spreading into some Sunni provinces in North Africa and Anatolia. So Religious for your second idea group. At this point, you can defocus from DIP. And right now it's the 1480s, and I can't pass my fourth Imperial Reform enact Guymanor Fenning, which gives us some tax income and gives everyone else in the Empire +1 Diplo rep. I am gonna waste like almost 10 Imperial Authority here, but that's only because people don't vote for a reform if you're overextended. And I just was because I took provinces from Poland. So ideally, you'd pass a reform immediately after you hit 50 Imperial Authority, but in my case, I just couldn't. So that's 10 right there wasted. I guess it evens out from when we accepted the Teutons again into the HRE. So that's my fourth Imperial Reform. After we pass the Perpetual Diet, we'll be able to push down this path and reform the Hofgericht. But now that that's all done, it is time for me to start forcing nations into the HRE, and you should be doing the same. First, I'm gonna declare on Bologna. It doesn't matter who you fight first, you should have plenty of options by this point. I have around 5 or 6 nations that I can force. So there's Bologna right there, expand Empire, pretty simple. Make sure to use this CB though. And no, for example, if I fight Serbia and co-belligerent or not co-belligerent Bosnia, I still can't push them into the HRE as well. You will have to declare on everyone separately and use that specific CB. So there's Bologna first in my case. And there's a very easy war done, and we can expand Empire on Bologna and take all their money. And just like that, they're in the HRE as well. Like I said earlier, the more nations there are in the HRE, the more Imperial Authority we gain. We start off with around 70 something. Right now that number has dropped, of course, because people are annexing each other, but with this, we're sort of balancing it out. Next, I'll be doing the same with Bosnia, and like I said, I'm not co-belligerenting Serbia because I'll also fight Poland, but also because we can't force them into the HRE by themselves. So I'm just gonna make them end their alliance with Poland, and I'm gonna force them in later. Do this in whichever order you want, fight whoever you want. This is what we're doing while we're waiting for this truce with Poland. And there we go, this war is done. I white peace their allies, and I'm gonna force Bosnia to enter the HRE. Easy. I'm continuing the same. This time I'm declaring on Friuli. Apologies, Aquileia. And there we go, this war is done. I'm gonna force them to enter the HRE. Now that I've pushed some nations in the HRE, I'm actually gonna declare on Venice with the Imperial Ban CB to make them return these provinces over to Milan and to make them pop out some other nations like Verona and Padua, and also to make them stop this war versus Aquileia. I am gonna call in a bunch of nations just to make this easier. For your tier 4 government reform, go for lands for the church. This is very important because we are gonna be staying Catholic the entirety of the campaign, no matter what we do. So we do need way better relations with the Pope and more papal points generation. So for tier 4 government reform, lands for the church. And once you wrap up your second war with Venice, like I said, make them give this back to Milan and pop out some other nations. In my case, I can only give Brescia back to Milan because Milan have declared their own war and they're gonna take Bergamo anyway, so it's totally fine. And I'm gonna make them release Verona and Padua. Crete doesn't matter because they're too far away and they can't enter the HRE at this point. So Venice will pretty much just be left with Venice and Treviso, so that's totally fine with us. And I'm gonna take war reps and some money, and that's my second war with Venice done. Soon we'll be able to force Verona, Padua, and later even Venice into the HRE. So that's a couple of more nations I can enter right here. There's 4 nations right here, 2 more in the Balkans, a bunch more in France. We're gonna increase that number real soon. But by this point, my truce with Poland has also expired, which means it is time for me to take this mission right here, the mission Control Galicia, and gain a restoration of Union CB on Poland and go and PU them. After you're done forcing some nations in the HRE, this is what you'll be doing as well. And now that I'm ready for my war with Poland, I'll take this mission. That's when you should do it as well, once you're ready. And now you have the restoration of Union CB on Poland, so it is time to go and declare on them and PU them, if you're lucky, along with Lithuania. And once you have around 60-ish% war score in your third war versus Poland, it is time to end it because we can PU them. So simply go into the peace deal and select union with Poland. Something else that I'm gonna do that you're probably not gonna do in your game is I'm gonna make them release Wolgas right here so they pop out right in the HRE. But that's pretty much it. You're only PUing Poland, so enforce your union over them and take all their money. And that's your third and final war with Poland done, and after this you've received Poland and maybe Lithuania as your junior partners. Excellent. Poland might be rebellious, but it's not going to be a problem. Just improve with them and pay off their debts. After this, make sure to improve so they get over a 0, so they don't release themselves after your ruler dies or you abdicate. But once you do PU Poland, you will be able to take the mission King of Poland, where they lose some cores on provinces that you own and you gain some diplorep and unrest. Once you've PU'd Poland, it's time to get back to forcing nations in the HRE. Personally, I'm going to declare on Champagne right here. And I am going to call in some allies just because I'm so far away and I can't be bothered going over there. And there we go, my war with Champagne is done, and I'll be forcing them into the HRE as well. The limit on how big a nation you can put in is about 10 provinces if they're low dev. If they're pretty high dev, it's honestly around 5 or 6, so you don't want to grow a nation too big in case you can't force them into the HRE. But there we go, Champagne will now be part of the HRE. Just like that. At this point, after we've PU'd Poland and stuff like that, and while we're forcing nations into the HRE, we're actually waiting for the Protestant Reformation to fire. And then I'll show you how to deal with that. Right now, I'm going to force Serbia to enter. And Nevers as well. Once again, I'm calling in some electors to help out. Even though we don't really need their help, why not make the wars faster? Once you unlock your third idea from religious ideas, you should be able to start converting some Orthodox provinces from the Balkan nations and from Poland. And there we go, I'm going to make Serbia join. And now I'm going to make Nevers join as well. Right now it's the 1490s, almost 1500, and I can pass my 5th imperial reform, the Perpetual Diet, where we gain even more imperial authority from free cities. More importantly though, after passing this reform, we will be able to advance down decentralization or centralization, one of the 2 different HRE paths. Of course, we're going to be going for centralization. So there's Perpetual Diet. Shout out Palpatine. At this point, something else we can do aside from forcing nations to enter the HRE is to fight any nations that aren't in the HRE but might have territory in it. In my case, Denmark has 2 provinces in the HRE, and Saluzzo is technically out of the HRE because France has vassalized them, but we'll deal with that later. So for now, I am going to go ahead and declare on Denmark with the Imperial Band CB, and I'm going to make them release Holstein or take those provinces for myself. I am going to call in everyone. Make sure to convert your subjects as provinces too. And once you beat up Denmark, you can simply make them release Holstein just like that, and then take some money in war reps. No need to take any provinces up here. Of course you can if you want to. And there we go, now I have only 1 province owned by a non-HRE nation in the HRE. Right now I'm continuing with expanding the HRE. I am going to force Istria to join. And there we go, I'm going to force Istria in as well. Now that it's been more than 50 years since I've PU'd both Bohemia and Hungary, and there is a chance I could inherit them, as we can see the chance of inheriting Bohemia is 27% and the chance of inheriting Hungary is 12%, it's time to once again abdicate with the 3rd ruler that I've gotten right here. Let's see once again, everyone likes me, so we're good to go, and there we go, let's abdicate. And did I inherit anyone? I didn't, but once again, that's still imperial authority. If you haven't inherited anyone in your first abdication after you've gotten these guys more than 50 years, it's time to start integrating one of your subjects. And I am going to start integrating Bohemia. That's the nation you should do first as well. This is because they have a monument in Prague right here, which is the historical center of Prague, which gives us imperial authority growth. And as we all know, the monument level won't decrease if we just integrate them. Sure, we will have to convert it from Hussite, but it's not a problem. Speaking of the Protestant Reformation, it has spawned in my game, and it did spawn about a year or 2 ago, but unfortunately I was really unlucky in the places that it spawned in. And this is exactly what you don't want to happen in your game, so if something like this does happen, make sure to Alt F4 so you can have a better run, or if you want something more challenging, keep it. But as we can see right here, England has spawned one of the centers of reformation, Sweden has spawned one, and Brandenburg has spawned one as well. Now obviously it's going to be very difficult for us to get rid of the one in Sweden and the one in England. In an ideal scenario, the center of reformation would spawn in a 1 or 2 province minor over in the HRE, and we could simply chain claim our way to them using this age ability right here, which enables us to claim 1 by 1 by 1 by 1 province and go and fight them and make them force convert to Catholic, which would make the center of reformation disappear. But in my game right here, that's not so easy. As you can see, I can't just force England to be Catholic. They're too big and it won't disappear anyway since it's not in their capital. If Sweden was smaller, I could force them since it is in their capital, and it's the same deal with Brandenburg right here. It's not in their capital, so it's going to be extremely difficult to get rid of this center of reformation. So yeah, in an ideal scenario, it spawned in a 1 province minor and you'd go and beat them up. Since this run isn't so lucky in the reformation regard, I do recommend that you check out my other Austria guide from last year, where I did get a little bit more lucky in where the centers of reformation spawned, and you can see what I did with those. But pretty much what I would do is if it spawned, for example, in Goslar, I'd claim some provinces just like this up to Goslar, and then fight them and force them to flip back to Catholic so it can disappear. If it spawned in a free city, for example, you'd first revoke the free city status of that country, like Bremen, for example. There it is. Then you'd go and fight them, force them back to Catholic, and then just give them back the free city status or give it to a different country. Ideally, you'd want to wipe out a center of reformation as soon as it spawns. Obviously, in my game, that's not possible since it spawned in England and in Sweden as well. But ideally, you'd also want to Alt F4 until England chooses to remain Catholic, because that way you won't have a Protestant nation colonizing the New World and you won't have to convert stuff over there. It'll already be Catholic when you get there. So yeah, once the Protestant Reformation spawns, just go and fight whichever nation spawned it and force them back to Catholic. Make sure they've officially converted to Protestant and they're not just staying Catholic. So you want to make sure their province look like this and not like this. And of course, I will demonstrate how that goes once a one province miner flips Protestant in my situation right here. But like I said, ideally, as soon as the center of reformation spawns, you want to wipe it out so it doesn't convert any nations. Because as we all know, nations being Protestant, it decreases imperial authority. And I am actually going to show you sorta how that works over on Saxony right here, since they are Protestant. So imagine Saxony was a one province miner only located in Dresden, and the center of reformation was located there. Now, using Bohemia's claims, or my own claims that I would chain claim over there, I will be declaring on Saxony. So let's call in all of these guys right here. And in these types of wars where you're trying to force convert someone, make sure to white piece everyone else, so in case they convert as well, you'll have enough time to fight them. And there we go. Now that the war with Saxony is over, I will be going ahead and forcing my religion onto them. And in this case, if the center of reformation was in their capital, which is Dresden right here, it would simply disappear. So there we go, force religion. And as we can see right here, there are 3 heretic princes in the HRE, that's Brandenburg, Anhalt, and Saxony, and by forcing my religion on them, there it will go down to 2. As we can see, Dresden has immediately flipped back to Catholic. So if there was a center of reformation there, that's how it would be wiped out. And that's exactly what you should be doing as well. Like I said, hopefully you got more lucky than me with where these centers of reformation spawned. Maybe I'll have more luck with the reformed ones. And once the Protestant Reformation does spawn, you are going to want to put a pause on pushing everyone into the HRE and dismantling nations such as France, for example, to pop out other nations, because your main focus is going to be the centers of reformation. So try and deal with the 3 Protestant Reformation centers however you can, then you can move on with expanding the empire a bit more and waiting for the reformed ones to pop up as well. And by around the time the Age of Reformation comes around, your realm should look a little something like this. Basically, we start off as Austria, and by kickstarting our mission tree, you should have secured a union over Bohemia. After that, we waited a little bit, so if Hungary chose to become a junior partner under us, and if so, we got them through that event. If not, you should have enforced your union over them, and after you've got Bohemia and Hungary, you should have went and hit Venice to pop out some nations and expand over here a little bit through them. Basically, after that point, you should have just been following your mission tree, and up until somewhere this point in the game, you should have gotten the Burgundian inheritance. Of course, if Burgundy started off friendly with you, which honestly, it shouldn't have been a problem, and you should have all of Burgundy as your junior partner by now, or if you were lucky, you got the horse event, and all of this right here is owned directly by you. Later, when you integrate Burgundy, or if you already have, you should move your capital over to the lowlands to prevent the Dutch revolt. It's honestly not going to be a problem. And during all this time, we were releasing various nations, fighting nations like Venice to pop out a bunch of small guys from them, fighting nations like France to pop out a bunch of small guys from them, and after that, we were pummeling Poland a few times to get these provinces from them, and then these provinces, before finally enforcing our PU over them. And maybe, if you were lucky, which honestly you should have, they get Lithuania more often than not, you should have gotten Lithuania as well. And by this point, these are your junior partners: Bohemia, Hungary, Burgundy, Poland, and Lithuania. You may have already integrated Burgundy, like I said, through the event, and you may have already annexed or inherited Bohemia when you abdicated. By this point in the game, you should have passed 4 to 6 imperial reforms, so you're either right here looking to pass Perpetual Diet, or you've passed Perpetual Diet looking to pass this one right here. Of course, after you pass this one, you will be able to continue down the centralization path. Once you get to around here, when you revoke the privilege, after that you can take these 2 right here, and that's how your imperial gameplay should go. and of course you should have seized the electorship from Bohemia. Of course, during all those PU wars, you should have been forcing nations to enter the HRE after you passed this third imperial reform right here, and you should have kept a hold over Italy by allying these guys right here. Like I said, there's always a sequence that you can do that it is possible to rein in all of the Italians. You will have to ally guys and break your alliance with them, re-ally them again, ally them in a different order, but like I said, it's always possible to ally all of these guys. Sometimes you will have to royal marry them, send some gifts and stuff like that, but it's not a problem. And you should have pushed a few nations in the HRE as well. Some of the small Balkan guys, like in my case, I have OPM, Serbia, and Bosnia. Some nations that you pop out of Venice, some nations that you pop out of France, maybe Holstein if we release them from Denmark, maybe the Teutons and the Livonians and Riga, maybe even Gotland if nations such as that still exist. And of course, if you don't get Lithuania, you're gonna do the same with Lithuania. You're gonna make them pop out Kiev, Chernigov right here, Zaporozhye, and various other nations, Polotsk. Make sure to flip them over to Catholic first though, before forcing them to enter the HRE. And basically, if you don't get Lithuania as a junior partner, do the same thing to them that we did to Venice and France. And of course, by this point in the game, the Protestant Reformation should have spawned, and you should be dealing with Protestant centers of Reformation. Like I said earlier, hopefully in your game you were more lucky, and these spawned in one province minors in the HRE, and not in an elector, which is our ally, and not in their capital, and in England and in Sweden. So at this point, you should be dealing with that before continuing to dismantle various big nations and forcing small nations in the HRE. After this point, you should continue doing the same. Keep pushing into France, pop out those guys, force them into the HRE, and after that, of course, you are going to fight the Ottomans as well. You should release Bulgaria and reconquer their cores. You should release Byzantium and reconquer their cores. These will be your direct vassals, so no forcing them into the HRE. They will be your actual vassal subjects that you should, of course, force your religion on them as well. Convert all of this to Catholic. Once they get their cores back, annex them. Do the same in Anatolia. If you go into the geographical map modes, you can hover and see which provinces are over in Europe. So pretty much you can release some nations in Anatolia as well. Saruhan right here, Karaman, Eretna, Chandar. You can force all of these guys in the HRE if you make them Catholic as well. This is in Europe in EU4, along with some provinces over here in the Caucasus. And that should be your focus while passing imperial reforms, abdicating until you get all the way to revoking the privilege. And of course, you should stop the Protestant Reformation dead in its tracks so you don't lose any imperial authority from that. And after that, after you've gotten pretty much all of Europe except for Scandinavia, Great Britain, and Iberia, you should continue to conquer the entirety of the world. You should be able to secure a PU on Castile later on by getting the Habsburgs on their throne. If you get friendly with England, you should be able to do that to them as well. And like I said, I do recommend Alt F4ing until England chooses to remain Catholic, because they are going to colonize, and you'd rather have them colonize and become Catholic provinces instead of you having to convert those Protestant ones to Catholic later, if of course you're going for a one faith. And pretty much after you pass revoke the privilege right here, the whole world is your oyster, and you're just gonna sick all of these guys on whichever enemy you're fighting and conquer the entirety of the world. Of course, once you integrate Bohemia, don't forget to upgrade the historical centers of Prague as fast as you can for that imperial authority growth. It is going to be a focus until you pass this reform right here. So if you're like in my situation, only 4 reforms to go, not too bad. You should be able to pass all reforms by 1550 with regular gameplay. No crazy exploits, no super aggressive gameplay, no nothing like that. And of course, you are going to want to continue to annex your subjects. You're going to want to continue to annex Hungary as well. Continue down the mission tree. You will want to unlock the multicultural empire mission right here, where we gain an even better tier 1 government reform. I forgot what it was called, but it's the Austrian something once again. And you're going to continue to follow along with your mission tree. This branch right here isn't that important. The colonization branch isn't that important either, but you will pretty much automatically unlock the entirety of the mission tree once you go on to dominate the world. For our first 2 idea groups, we took diplomatic and religious ideas. That is the opener as Austria for a world conquest and a one faith and a general Austria playthrough as well. For your 3rd idea group, you're going to want to take influence, and for your 4th idea group, you're going to want to take admin. And after that, it really doesn't matter. Choose whatever you want, but that has to be your opening. Diplo, religious, influence, admin for an ideal start for a world conquest, and after that, it's up to you. For your tier 5 government reform, you should go with meritocratic recruitment. For tier 6, you should go with royal decree. For tier 7, you should embrace the economic theory. For tier 8, you should go with this one, especially for the -5 years of separatism. For tier 9, they're all good depending on which point in your campaign you are, so look through all of these and take whichever one you need right at the moment. And for tier 10, it's pretty much the same. Take whatever you need right at that point in the game. And like I said, after this point, you're going to continue to expand. You're going to continue to feed all your vassals. Don't give them anything outside of Europe though, because they won't convert that. You will want to have your vassals convert stuff as well. And with the various monuments that you're going to get, the various monuments that you're going to upgrade through all of these ideas, ideas right here and the missions, you're going to get insane missionary strength, insane diplo rep modifiers, and stuff like that, and you're going to continue to play the most powerful diplomatic game that is possible in EU4. And like I said earlier, you can also check out last year's Austria guide to see how it differs, and maybe here's some stuff that I forgot to mention in this one. And if you want to go into the most in-depth version of this guide, there is a full Austria World Conquest One Faith playthrough on the second channel, Red Hawk VODs, link is in the description, where you can watch me go from 1444 to 1821, conquer the entirety of the world, and convert it all to Catholic. And like I said, by the time the Age of Reformation rolls around, your realm should look a little something like this. Let me know in the comments below what's the next nation that I should do a guide on. If you want to watch me do stuff like this live, you can follow me on twitch.tv/TheRedHawkLive, and if you want to catch up on stuff from over there, you can subscribe to the second channel, link is in the description. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to leave a like, it really helps out a lot. And if you like the content and want to see more videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of it. And you can become a member today and join the Discord, the link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with another EU4 video.